What's up? This is Dean Anti TV. I'm here to review Venom 2 Let There Be Carnage. Starts off in where Cletus is talking with the doctors in jail. They're showing everyone that's going crazy. And also there's another jail cell that shows the character Shriek. That was a pivotal character that was in the Maximum Carnage storyline in the comic book. And also in the video game, that was made in 1994 and 95. And then Eddie back in his house, Eddie has a convo with Venom in his house. And then Venom comes out, and he's sitting on his couch. And then Venom says that his responsibility is for the mediocre. He's looking for a human, and he wants to eat. But Eddie tells him he just has chickens today to eat. Then on the rooftop, then he goes outside with his phone. And then he hangs on the side, and then his girlfriend calls him. And then she wants to hook up on him and meet him because she has something to tell him. So then he walks inside a date, and then Venom comes out of the side of his back as he's walking inside the restaurant. And then he goes back in, and then as soon as he sits down, she tells him she has something to tell him, and then he says what, and she takes out her hand, and he shows that it's a ring on her finger. And then she asks him, "Is Venom with him?" He said that no, he's not here. And then Venom is telling him in his head, "Yes, I am. Yes, I am. I'm here." And then she asks him to marry her guy. Bad because that's why she haven't talked to him in a while, because they was having their situation, so she wanted to give him a break. So Venom was saying no. He was making these one-liners saying no, that's not the truth. That Venom is making Eddie breakfast with everything on it: pancakes, eggs, toast, everything that's in the house. And so he's messing up the house, putting it everywhere. It's like a joking scene, like the commercial. It's crazy. Then Eddie goes to jail to see Cletus. The security guard lets in. They have a brief talk to each other. Then Venom and Eddie, they pass the symbiote, I think the blood or something. So the blood was passed from before. So then he's on a table. And then he's on a table, and then he's like shaking, and then the blood of the Venom, and then he transforms into Carnage. Then Venom and Eddie has a fight between each other. And Eddie says Venom is just a reject. Venom holds him all the way up to the ceiling, and then he's like stuck in the ceiling. And then after that, something happens. And then he left his body and it went out the window, and he falls onto another person. And then he went from another person, then another person on the bike. So then he tries traveling around the street. Then as soon as Carnage gets out, he attacks the entire jail. He terrorizes everybody, breaking everything down, opening all the jail cells. The CGI looks great. All his tentacles are coming out. He looks entirely in red. He's more menacing than how Venom than he even met him. His spikes and blades and his arms coming out. Then Eddie's in the house looking comfortable. And he's so happy that he doesn't have Venom in it. Then outside, it goes from body to body. Then he goes to near this costume party, and it's like a Halloween party. And then everybody was loving his costume. They said, "Oh, that's the best costume," and they all was taking pictures. Then he gets so happy. Venom gets so happy, he goes on the stage, and then he said he's the life of the party, and he's free from Eddie, and everybody claps. And then another guy said, "Oh, you have the best costume," and then he said, "Thanks, man." And then meanwhile, Cletus is so happy, he jumps in the car, he steals it, he drives around, and then he goes into a grocery store and he hacks the computer with his stuff. And then back in the jail cell, Shriek is in a bulletproof jail cell. And then Carnage goes back to the cell, and then he goes in there. He puts his tentacles all around the cell, and he busts it open, and he breaks them out, and he grabs her with his arm and pulls her, jumps out of the top of the jail, and then drops into the car, and they drive away. Then Carnage goes as he draws the city, and the cops try to shoot him. Nothing works. Shriek uses a loud voice and breaks some of the car's window shields, and they both get away. Then a random goes back to the same grocery store, and the dude passes out, and then comes in, then it leaves his body. Then he finds the body. Now, then he finds that Venom needs food and chocolate to stay awake. So now the symbiote been going from person to person. Now his girlfriend gets it from the store, from the other lady, the older lady. So she takes it, she brings it into the jail cell, and then she turns temporarily into She-Venom, which was cool for the first movie. And then she brings it to Eddie, and then it goes into him. Then now they both guys, Eddie and himself and Venom, are apologize to each other. So now he's back inside him again. And Shriek goes, to Anne's house, and then she goes and knocks out her boyfriend, puts him in the trunk. And she steals the ring, the engagement ring. And now she's trying to bring it to Carnage so they could get married. Then they go to the chapel, to the church. Then the priest has about to say his the speech for the marriage. Then Venom walks in, aka Eddie. He walks in. He sees them, and then Cletus stops. And then he turns into Carnage automatically, so he pushes the two people around out of the way. Then Venom talks. He said, I want to get you. And then he tried to goes after him. So he still didn't come out of Eddie yet. So he's telling him, you got to come out now. And then he comes out. And he covers Eddie with the symbiote. And then they start fighting each other. So now it's Venom versus Carnage. It's intense. They're fighting over the building, right near the church. Then the church bell ring their costumes. It falls off everywhere. And then Shriek kicks it off the building. Then he turns back and grabs Anne and then leaves. So he grabs Anne and leaves with his arms. And then Carnage grabs Shriek, and then you see Carnage is hurting Shriek. And then Cletus is telling Carnage that the symbiote that is hurt to see. So his head comes out of the suit sideways, so you could see his head and Carnage's symbiote separately. So they both talking to each other. And he's telling him to get off Shriek. And then Eddie says he needs a fire or sound to stop him. So that's what they did. They took out the fire and sound, and it separates the two. And then Anne, the symbiote comes out and it falls to the floor. And then Venom, he grabs the symbiote, he smashes on the floor, and then he lifts it up and put it in his mouth. And he said, it doesn't taste well, and he swallows it whole. And then he goes up to Cletus, and Cletus, he holds his throat to the wall, and then he said, just F this guy. And then he grabs him and snaps his head and then eats his head. And then they talk at the end. And then now he's talking to the end with the chickens and stuff like that. And then he's on a beach, and then Venom is talking to him. He comes out his side of his body. He's wearing he's on the beach looking at the water, and then Venom is telling him that we're making amends, and that's the end. And then in the post-credit scene, he falls asleep. First, he falls asleep watching a Spanish soap opera thing. Then he gets up, he wakes up, and he sees on the screen that J. Jonah Jameson is talking. He said, Spider-Man. And then they show a pan of Spider-Man on the TV. So he turns into, the Venom goes and he turns into Venom. He goes to the screen and it licks the screen. And they said, he says, is that the guy? And then he licks the screen. And then that's it. So now we're going to get this crossover finally. I give it the movie a 7.5 out of 10. I actually think the post-credit scene bunched it up a knot because the movie was very, very dull. I thought the jokes happened like every 10 minutes, so it felt like a comedy movie instead of an action movie, which is not good because when you do jokes, you have to put it in the scene that make it fit. Like you can't just put a joke, just a joke. I don't like that. It has to be put in a scene and where it's trying to improve the plot, not just trying to joke to make people laugh to people to didn't like it. It's supposed to be I give the movie a 7.5 out of 10. 1.